Wow, and welcome. All of you out there, they gave me some theme music, so they upgraded me. I love it. My name is Shafiq Abdusabor. I'm running for mayor of the city of New Haven. And if you are just joining me today at our 4 o'clock live, Tales from the Trail, it's an opportunity for me to get to talk to you as a voter, to you as a potential voter. It's an opportunity for me to talk to you, maybe as someone who's never voted before, and you say, why should I get involved in politics? Politics is not for me. Often we hear people say, I'm not into politics. And then they watch the news like I do, follow the news, follow the issues, trying to understand, what is this political arena all about? What is running for mayor about? Why should I care? Right? I've lived in the city my whole life. Maybe my life is good. Maybe the neighborhood that I live in, I don't have issues. I don't want to get involved. Politics is a dirty business. Well, if you're one of those people, today I'm talking to you, right? I'm talking to you about running for mayor of the city of New Haven, talking to you about the issues, and talking to you about something that's very real, very dear to me, and something that I've lived my whole life committed to, the city of New Haven as a resident. So I'm a lifelong resident of the city of New Haven, 56 years old. I was born and raised in New Haven. I raised my children in New Haven, and now some of my children, some of them, two of them living in New Haven, one moved to Hamden and got married, and one is living in Phoenix, going to school. And now my grandchildren, dun, 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 who are very young, they're 3 and like 6 months, they're living in New Haven. And so this is a history of me living in this city. My great grandfather helped build the Q Bridge. Right now, the second Q Bridge that's there, if you're new to New Haven or you're not familiar with the history, there is a new Q Bridge. That new Q Bridge is not the one that he built. He built the original Q Bridge. And then my grandfather came to the city of New Haven, moved here, got married, and then my parents and so forth. So I'm the fourth generation New Havener. My granddaughter and my grandson are the sixth generation New Haven. So talking about being a mayor, talking about running for mayor, go back and check my previous Tales from the Trail. We do it every Sunday where I talk about why I'm running for mayor. Last week I talked about lessons learned as a police officer on the job. But many of you know I was a police officer for 21 and a half years in the city of New Haven. I retired as a decorated sergeant. Now my son has continued on with that legacy in a young age. He's in early 20s, and he's a police officer. But today I want to talk to you about something really, really fascinating that I've learned. We did our first canvas. It was our officially a first canvas, but everybody knows I'm a ground game guy, so I knock on doors and talk to people all the time. But in terms of organizing people, right, what we know in the political world, organize your people, do an official canvas, go on the ground, knock on doors. I call it the time when people can yay you, they could hug you, or they can boo you, right? Boo, get out of here. We don't want you to run. We started off in Newhallville, a very, I guess you would say, telling area for me because my great grandparents lived in Newhallville. That's my biological father's side. It lived in Newhallville, Highland and Winchester, second house in, right? And so my mother tells me a whole bunch of stories about that. My great aunt, Ruth Sutton, and Uncle Caesar, my great uncle, they lived Sheldon Terrace and Star. So we landed in Newhallville yesterday, right? Last week, knocking on doors, talking to people, talking to the residents, and that's what I want to talk to you about today, and just share those experiences and the responses that we got from people in Newhallville. Yesterday, I marched in the Walter Pop Smith. They did their opening day baseball league. Walked with Wayne Morrison and Lanier Walker and several other folks out there that's, dedicating their time, volunteering, working with these young people, the parents that was out there. And I had great conversations sharing with them and feedback that they gave me during the parade and after the parade when we spent some time. And then I spent some time, we'll call it on the ground in Dixville and Henry. So I spent on the ground in Dixville and Henry, right? And talked to business owners, young business owners like, that Dope and Delicious, DRA, right? Trent Butler, who has the smoke shop over there, and others that's in the community. So just want to share that with you today. So if this is the first time you joining in, listen to us, Tales on the Trail. We do this every Sunday, 4 o'clock p.m. And we'll be talking to you about issues in the community. You always have the opportunity. Look, I'm running for mayor. So if you have some areas or some topics that you want me to talk about or touch on, just send us a notification. You can send us notification right here on the site. You can send us a notification email, voteshafiq@gmail.com. You could Instagram us at voteshafiq is our Instagram. And on Twitter, it's at Bold Mind. So we're out there. You can reach us. Tell us what you think. Tell us what your thoughts. Share this live. Let other people know. Okay, so let's get right into it. Going to the New Hallville, it was happy and it was sad. I was so happy to be in New Hallville, wondering what my great grandparents would think of me today if they knew that their great grandson was running for mayor in the same city that they came and settled in. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting. I was sad that we set up at like right outside Bassett Street Park. And just looking at the contrast of Bassett Street Park and other areas of the city and other parks around the greater New Haven area, it's like Bassett Street doesn't even look like a park. It just looks like the other space, right? But that was in my head, and I left that alone. And I started knocking on doors, and I met with a resident who lived across the street. His grandparents lived in the house that he now lives in. And he talked about how the neighborhood has been run down and how the park is not kept up, and the gunshots and the shootings and so forth. And I was being fair about this, right? It's like it doesn't do me any good running for mayor to lead people into a conversation. Say, hey, how do you feel about safety? And I don't do that, right? It's like, how do you feel about your neighborhood? I'm running for mayor. What can I do to make the neighborhood better? What would you change? Or are you happy? Are you just happy with stuff the way it is? And I just go ahead and, I'll move on to the coffee shop and give me a donut, right? And so I let them talk about it, and what he talked about is like, look, I got a house next door. This house has been empty. I don't know the status of it. The vines was grown up, somewhat abandoned or vacant. I know actually the family that owns that home because I met the woman who actually she lives now in my ward, and she's elderly. And so like the house is kind of like in this transition period. And so all I could think about, as he was saying, was like, it would be nice if the family could get help to be able to maintain the house and keep the house. And he says, one of the things that I'm finding in New Hallville as a Black man, as a Black family living here, is that we're losing our houses, that we're losing our community, that we don't get the support we need, that because things like the streets and the sidewalks and the parks in the area is not kept up, even when they want to sell their house, they're getting lower offers to sell that house because people that are the buyers. No one wants to buy there. So they're stuck with something that they invested in, that because the area doesn't have the proper support it needs, right? The sidewalks and the parks and trees and things that are nice. Now they have a property that, one, they can't even sell to be able to make the generational wealth that they want to have. And two, they're struggling to try to hold on to it, dealing with things like the taxes and other issues in the city. So I was like, wow, that's really interesting because, I have heard that story as I have moved around the city. They also talked about things around, the lack of presence of police officers. And what I really found this is really interesting for New Hallville is that, contrary to popular belief, right, African American, Black people, I call them Black people because there was I met Africans, I met people from the Caribbean. So I'm using Black because everybody in New Hallville is not African American. Actually, the neighborhood is kind of changing over quite a bit. And so what people were actually talking about, contrary to popular belief, Black people don't have a thing like, Black people want police. They want safety. They don't want police brutality, right? They don't want to be wrongfully accused of stuff or berated or harassed. But what they do want is they want safety, right? They want to be able to see a police car or some officers walking on the street that they know, hey, how you doing? I mean, they told me, hey, I seen your son, Shafiq, I seen your son, man. So they want that, right? They want community policing. certainly something that I can understand because I was the district commander over New Hallville. And when I was there, that's exactly what I gave them was community policing, them knowing their commander and their officers and having their phone numbers and, being a part of a WhatsApp group where they can just talk about issues. So found that to be very interesting. So we moved on. That was like on the Ivy Street area. Then we moved on to Shelton Avenue where there were generational house. So there was, we call it an auntie. So like, the village auntie, her niece, the grandkids, the nieces and nephews, they were all playing right out front. And what was really crazy about that, so interesting, I should see the word. I'm going to wave to some of my people that's on Instagram. Hello, thank you for joining us. We're streaming on all our platforms right now. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I believe also on YouTube. So you can catch this everywhere. But what was really interesting, New Hallville, right? So in New Hallville, you got the village auntie. And so what was really interesting, based on how you'd supposed to technically do a canvas, you only are supposed to knock on doors. This is what they do. I don't do it because I don't believe in it. You're only supposed to knock on doors of the people who have voted, like technically in the last election. So if you didn't vote in the last mayoral election or presidential election or gubernatorial election, particularly this race for mayor, then chances are no one's not going to knock on your door. Let's just say your family member died on election day and you couldn't make it. Let's say you were sick on election day and you couldn't make it. Let's just say your job won't let you get off on election day and you can make it. Then therefore you'll be logged in as not having registered to vote, right? You'll be a registered voter, but you'll have been a non-participating voter. So what normally happens is the strategy is the person that then runs for mayor, right? They pull that list and they look down that list. It's called the cross-offs. The cross-off list means that if they cross your name off, you voted. So for those of you who ever voted, you go and you vote. And after you vote, they ask you for your ID. And they'll normally take your ID. What's your name? Shafiq Abdul-Sabbar. Here he is right there. They cross your name and then they give you your sheet, and then you go and vote. That voter list is turned into the clerk's office. The clerk office filed that. They file that. And so when the next group of candidates go to run, like me running for mayor, and I ask for a list of the people who voted in the last election, they'll send me a big list, and then it'll have cross-offs. Shafiq voted, James Brown voted, this person voted, that person voted. Then the strategy would be when you go knock on doors, you only go to the doors of the people that voted. So if the people didn't vote, you don't go to their door. Now, why is that important? Because I don't know people's life circumstances, right? We don't know each other's life circumstances. And so if you think of it in terms of like being absent from something, you might have had a good excuse for being absent. But because you didn't vote, you're deprioritizing the conversation. No one's interested in talking to you because you did not vote right now. And therefore, your door doesn't get knocked on right away. You're put in the back burner. The people whose door that's knocked on is the people that voted. So you knock on the door. Hey, how are you, Miss Jones? How you doing? I see you voted in the last election. I just want to know, how do you feel about your neighborhood? What is it I could do for you as a candidate, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, next door to you, there might be Miss Brown. Miss Brown might be out there with her grandkids and her family and active in the community and do a lot of things, but Miss Brown just didn't vote. We bypass Miss Brown and go to the next person. Okay, so why am I telling you? Because I want to educate you all about why I think this process is not good, right? And why I do things differently as a candidate, and why so far I have been successful in my political journey, right? Because I believe that every single person's voice matters. Even if you don't vote for me, you're telling me things that I need to know to make the neighborhood better. I need to hear that. It's called feedback. It's called criticism. It's called your right. Your right to participate in the electoral process of this city, this state, and this country should not be exclusively weighed on whether or not you voted in the last election. Because even if you didn't vote in the last election, I bet you one thing that you did do, you paid some taxes. You did that, right? And so that's part of the participation. So why should you be able to pay taxes, but you can't be able to have your input. I'm here to allow you to have your input. So go down Shelton Avenue. We hit a couple of doors, talk to a few people, do the stuff that we do. We're coming up on a house with a it's like a three family. Older lady, younger lady, a lot of activity, kids, and they were all playing right in that area. A lot of kids, like maybe like 6 or 7 children. And I was like, looked on my list, don't have her on my list. It don't matter. We want to talk to you. I'm running for mayor. So we stopped. I stopped with the team. Hey, how you tell us what's going on? She, they were like, hey, how are you? It's good. I was like, are you registered to vote? She's like, yep. I said, did you vote in the last election? No, I did not get a chance to vote in the last election. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, I understand that. Listen, life happens, but here I'm talking to you. I want to know what's on your mind, what's going on, what's happening. I said, yes, you have the children out here playing. Why not play across the street at the park? Now, she was right across from Bassett Street Park. So literally right across the street from her is a playground, 2 playgrounds. There's one like right in front of the school, or like a rubber mat thing. And then there's another one right across the street. I said, what? She could literally watch her kids play on the swings from where she was sitting. So I said to her, why your children? She said, before I could even get the words, Mom, she said, let me tell you something. She said, this neighborhood not safe. She said, and I'm not going to have my children out there and I got to worry about gunshots and I got to worry about car crashes and screeching cars and all that kind of stuff. She says, when we take them to the playground, it's stressful because I have to sit there with them while they're playing and literally be like a lookout for everything that's going on around them. Now, these children were like 5, 8. It was between the ages of looked like 4. I would say about 4 and probably 12. And she's like, so I'd rather them play right here on the sidewalk where I can see them. And I was like, okay, wow. And I said, well, what else? Keep going. What's the other issue? She's like, the other issues is there's nothing for the children to do. She's like, there's no programs out here for the kids to really get involved in. It's hard to find the programs. You have to go through all of these processes, whether it's online and navigate through all this stuff. She said, and that's just too time consuming. It's very difficult. And she sees the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I said, listen, how do you feel? Has things gotten better for you? She says, my life has not gotten better. She said, our community has not gotten better. In fact, it's gotten worse. She's like, look around. She's like, look around. You see all the trash there on the ground and the trees and the sidewalk. And I was like, all right, got it. So got you. I hear you. So that was good information. I was like, okay, we keep going, keep walking through the neighborhood, meet more people. Noticed as we went through the neighborhood, we started getting people it was the same. I know I'm excited. I'm smiling as I'm over there because I was like, wow. People like, hey, you running for mayor? Hey, that's great, man. I appreciate it. Yo, help us with this neighborhood, man. This stuff is crazy. Look at all the trash. Everybody consistently kept talking about, look at all of the trash in the street. Look at all of the trash around. Look at the we need to do something, man. We need stuff for the kids, man. Our kids are not safe. And so I was like, okay, well, listen, I don't lead the voters. In terms of, I don't lead their conversation. Hey, does it feel unsafe? I don't lead that conversation. The best way that I'm going to be able to help this city move forward as the mayor coming in, you elect me on September 12th, is going to be listening to people and hearing what they're saying and getting the stuff done. So we moved on. I talked to a mother whose child is inside of the baseball program. And, she likes the baseball program because it gives her one of the only outlets where she can put her son in a safe space and not have to worry about her son when he's outside playing. She was not inclined to have, or, encouraged or happy to have her child playing outside. So it was like, child goes to school, stays in the house. When baseball practice happens, go to baseball practice. When there's a baseball game, goes baseball game, and back in the house. So it was almost like the New Hallville community is kind of operating. What I got was almost like a shelter in place, right? That's really technically what that is. It's kind of like, you can't leave the property. You can't leave my eyesight because I don't feel like the community or the neighborhood is safe enough for you to be out there. So they asked, what could I do? Could you please come up with ways to change that? And we talked about that. And I talked about that with them, and I'll talk about that more in the weeks to come, because we'll be putting out our platform, and I'll be talking about the things that we are proposing that we will do through my administration to make sure that the community is safer and we return this community back like when I was growing up. When I was growing up, you could walk from one neighborhood to the other, and you would be safe. There would not be an issue. There were all types of programs in the city, all types of open spaces, right? Community centers that you could literally walk into those community centers on any given day, pick up an instrument and play it, play with checkers, play the Monopoly, all of these different things that was available to the community, that was out there. We don't have those things anymore, and it's very clear from walking through Newhaltville. It's a it's a desert. It's literally a resource desert. It's literally a resource desert. I was out there waving to people on my Instagram. Hey, thank you for joining us. Tales from the Trail. Appreciate you. I was in Newhaltville early in the week, getting a haircut. Look at the waves, look at the waves, look at the waves. So I was at Ash's barbershop getting a haircut, and I had a chance to talk with I call him Young Ash, the barber, and just talking about like the business in the neighborhood, and you know, you look at the storefronts, you're like, no investments. No investment in the storefront. New Haven has a facade program. So people that don't know what a facade is, it's like the marquee that would go over, you know, if you had a McDonald's, it's the sign, or, you know, the lighting and all the things that would attract you, right? That's why you go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and it's like, oh, look at the signage and all this stuff. And so New Haven has that program, but it almost seems like that program doesn't exist in Newhaltville. It doesn't exist, like totally forgotten area, totally disinvested. And they talk to me. You know, I talk to business owners. It's like, look, we would love to have better investment and support from the city. It seems like when it comes to economic development in Newhaltville is forgotten. Got y'all. I'm on it. I've been on it, but you know, I know how to make money. So we'll figure that one out, and I'll roll that platform out soon. But I've heard that. I've heard that from co-chairs that I've been in meetings with for 2-3 hours, talking about the same thing of the non-investment in Newhaltville. So now I'll move more to Saturday and going to the parade. Awesome. Wayne Morris, shout out, man. Wayne Morrison, shout out. Dude, that's the work you're doing is real. He's the president of Walter Pop Smith. Excellent. Lanier Walker, who is a board member, and me and Lanier grew up as kids. I ran track and played football. Lanier was a master baseball player. I can't play baseball, so I love anybody that can play baseball, because I couldn't hit the baseball if it was a basketball and I had a bat and I had to hit it with the bat. I still miss. But great work that you all have done and are doing as coaches and facilitators. Donald McCauley, I ran into him out there. Dr. Paul White, others. The list goes on and on. That's out there working with these youth. Rodney Nelson got his kids involved. So these, you know, this is real stuff. And, you know, the parade was awesome. Walking in that parade, seeing them young faces, little kids walking with pride and drums, and talking to the parents after, and talking to people after. Feedback. I'm just there. I wasn't really too heavy on the campaign piece, but I am running, so I got to let people know that. But it was really amazing, people coming up to me after saying, man, you know, we need more investment in this program. We don't have enough money. There's not enough resources. You know, we're operating on a shoestring budget. You know, the city is asking us to pay for the lighting. You know, this is the thing they talked about. We're being asked to pay for the lighting for the field, Shafiq. The other thing they talked about was like, look at our field. They said our fields is in such poor condition that other teams don't even really want to play on these fields with us. Right? They said, well, we go to other places, it's like night and day in the fields, you know, playing on the field. So they're like, you know, what can you do to get us better field? They talked about the concession stand. They call it a bomb shelter. I'm saying what they said, right? They call it because it's all concrete. And it was like, well, the concession stand is hot. It's not appealing. It's not really attractive. This is where we make some of our revenue for the game and stuff. And so, you know, I'm there and I'm looking at this stuff. I'm watching how this stuff operates. They got tables set up. Instead of having the tables in the concession stand, the tables were actually set up like in the field, off the field area for the food, because the concession stand is just either so outdated or so inadequate. But it definitely going through there with the dirt on the ground and just, you know, poor investment, poor non-prioritization of a community. That's how I'm going to put it. And This community that I'm referring to in this moment right now is the youth. Sometimes we forget that children are a community. Our children, they have their own community. They're children. It's called children, right? Our youth have their own community. They're called youth. Our young adults have their own community. They are called young adults. We forget that sometimes. And what happens when a case like this and people are running for mayor, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this for the community. What community are you talking about? Who are you prioritizing? Because what you may do for me as a 56-year-old male, taxpayer male, it's not the same need of that child community or that youth community or that young adult community. And so that's where my ear was on Saturday when I was listening. I'm thinking and I'm listening and I'm hearing what people are saying and speaking up on behalf of their child's community. They're saying, my child in my child's community has been forgotten. Our youth in our youth community has been forgotten, have not been prioritized. Our children should not have to play. This is what their words were. And I heard this over and over again in New Haven on Saturday. Our children should not have to play on the fields like this. This is disrespectful. It's disrespectful to them, and it's disrespectful to us as the parents who are investing in them. So I got as we would say, I got an earful, but I went there with big rabbit ears and I was listening and I took everything in, and I appreciate y'all for the feedback because we just did put out an issue around our platform for parks and talking about separating Parks Department from Public Works and bringing back a parks director. And I've been talking with people around the country, looking at other park systems and other ways to advance our parks, where our parks can be more reflective of the communities those parks serve. Children, separate community, a community. Youth, separate community, a community. Young adults, what do young adults need in the park? Separate community. How do we service them? And then, of course, the adults, and then our seniors. These are all the different groups that actually use the park. And we have to have a parks director and a park system that recognizes and is able to prioritize that. So we'll move on. We'll move on. So if you just joining me on this live, and I'll probably be up here for 5 more minutes, so I don't want to make this long. My name is Shafiq Abdul-Sabbar. I'm running for the mayor of the city of New Haven, born and raised in the city of New Haven, retired police sergeant, decorated police sergeant for the city of New Haven for 21 and a half years. I was an alder for a short stint in Beaver Hills, and now I'm running for mayor for the city of New Haven, ran a multi-million-dollar business, raised all 4 of my children in the city of New Haven, been married for 30 and a half years, coming up on 31. Dun, dun, dun. And hey, look, I'm running for mayor, and this is a live that I do every Sunday, 4:00 p.m. It's called Tales from the Trail. Give a chance for you to get to know me as a candidate and for me to get to know you as a potential voter or supporter, or maybe you're just a critic, or maybe you just got great advice, or maybe you just tuned in to say, wow, I'm gonna make a donation, and I'll take that too. So I want to talk about the last part of this live, which is walking to Dixwell. So the parade started at the Q House, so the historic Q House that has just been done across from Dixwell, and that's currently going through the change where it's going to be buildings and apartments and the whole big piece. And so started at the Q House, which is on Dixwell, roughly around 200 block of Dixwell near Foot Street. We walk down Dixwell towards Munson, which is there's a rotary, take a left, go down, what was that? Go down Henry Street. Go down Munson Street. Take a left, go down Munson Street. So that was the walk. And then because I parked at the Q House, I had to walk back. So on the way back, I decided to stop into the businesses and so forth and so on. And it just, walking in the parade with the people, I did not see all of the trash on the side of the roads because the people was marching. But you could not see the trash. What you could see is, the Monterey Club, dilapidated abandoned, windows all out. The hotspot property fence broke. It was crazy. What was really astonishing, I came back home in 1985 after college. Went to college in 85, came home in 86, 87. Each year I would come back, the city was in a worse and worse and worse condition because of the war on drugs, crack rock, cocaine, and so forth. So New Haven moved quickly into this inner city mode. It was like inner city, nothing, poverty, trash, abandoned buildings, desolate, hopelessness, just the absence, no flowers, nothing. Everything is gray and dismal. Walk down Dixwell Avenue, because that's exactly the vibe. That was exactly the vibe. And I didn't realize, you feel it kind of in the parade because you got a little energy. It's like, just trying to stay focused. But walking back, when that parade was over and walking down Dixwell, and just, you hit the corner of Munson Street and you look up towards Dixwell and all you see is trash on both sides of the street, abandoned lots, no good storefront investment. And then of course, you have the developments going up. And I just asked myself, like, where's the prioritization? This is straight up full scale regentrification at its most accelerated, aggressive form. There's no other way to get around that. Is when you allow a community to become dilapidated and starved of resources. You starve out the businesses. You let the trash remain. You let the roads, Henry Street, forget about it. It looks like driving through Baghdad. It looks like driving through Baghdad. Once you come out of Ward 28, which is Beaver Hills, which is where Next Haven is. So Next Haven is County and Henry, and you drive all the way up until you hit Science Park. Henry Street looks like a war zone. It's Baghdad. Potholes, trash, you name it, broken fences, completely something that is, you wouldn't want to walk down that street with your 3-year-old holding their hand. What are they looking at? And I always talked about this before. I'm 56 years old. I'm 5'8". I'm looking at life at 5 feet 8 inches most of the time, right? Most of the time I'm looking at life at around 4 feet to 5 feet. When I walk down the street with my 3-year-old granddaughter, she's looking at life at 3 feet. At best, 2 feet is her field of vision. So I want to invite y'all to a challenge. And I want to invite you to a challenge, because this race is about our children, our grandchildren, and our grandchildren's grandchildren. What memories are we instilling in them right now? What memories are we setting up for them now? Still waving at my people on Instagram. I want to challenge you to something. And I want to challenge you to this. Get down on your hands and knees at about 2 feet the next time you're in one of these neighborhoods, and look around and tell me what you see. And tell me what your experience is at 2 feet. Because at 2 feet, is what your child is looking at. If you have a young child, if you have a grandchild that's 3 or 4 years old or 5 years old, that's what they're looking at. If you have a great grandchild that's 3 or 5 years old, and ask me if that's what they've got to look at for the next 3 years, and they've already looked at it maybe for 2 or 3 years, what is your life experience going to be like? And so I'm running for mayor to change that. Better streets, cleaner streets, flowers in around the trees, make it nice, right? Nice things to look at. And when you walk down the building, you go, oh, I remember that store. I remember that was my favorite. We got ice cream there. You go up and down from Dixwell Avenue, from Dixwell and Broadway, all the way up to Dixwell and the Hamden Town line, not one ice cream shop. Where do you take a little child to go have fun and get some ice cream? Not one ice cream shop. Not one place to buy a donut or something sweet or do something fun. Nothing at all. No grocery store, nothing. Your grandmama live on Winchester Avenue, they got to take 3 buses maybe to get to Whaley Avenue to buy groceries. Or they got to take a bus, the D bus, go all the way up to the Hamden Plaza in Hamden, get all of them groceries and lug all them groceries back home. So I'm about restoring our community, bringing the resources back to our community that this community is telling me we need these resources, Shafiq. We need you so bad to come and bring us those resources. So listen, how can you help this campaign? This is how you can help. You can help several ways. The first is always help us keep this campaign running strong by making a donation. You can go to voteshafiq.com. You can make a donation. You live in New Haven. You make a donation for, let's say, $35. I get an additional $70 because I'm participating in public financing. So that's one way that you can help. Donate $5, $10, or you can donate up to $445. But the first way you can help, donate to this campaign, because that's going to help us get this campaign moving. If you're not able to donate at this time, donate your time. You can go to our website again, voteshafiq.com. You can sign up, you can donate, help us knock on doors, help us stuff envelopes, help us with other issues, getting people organized. We love to have you, love to keep this energy going and this energy flowing. The other way that you can help this campaign is talk about it to other people. Encourage other people to get involved, encourage somebody else to make a donation or somebody else to volunteer. We can close the gap on these issues in the city if we work together. And I promise you that I will prioritize the issues in our community. Every community is different. Every community has different needs. I understand that better than anybody that's participating in this mayoral race right now, because I'm born and raised here. And I live here, and I raise my children here, and I'm raising my grandchildren here. So thank you for joining me on Tales of the Trail. My name is Shafiq Abdusabbar, running for mayor for the city of New Haven. I need your vote. I need your support. Thank you for tuning in. Follow us on Instagram. My IG is Vote Shafiq. And please share this video with others and have a blessed day.